Thank you very much for this very kind invitation. I'm coming from Freie Universitat Berlin. I'm working there at the so-called Center for Digital Systems, which is the e-learning center, which can be compared to your e-learning center that your colleague is running here at university. This is the outline for today. So I'm looking at my watch. I'll keep to the 45 minutes, I promise. I have more than 50 slides, but I'll rush. So, okay. I give you just a short overview of Freie Universitat Berlin, then about the Center for Digital Systems, and then I'm coming to the core interest, to e-learning at Freie Universitat. I'm giving you a couple of e-learning examples, and I picked the most common examples we have in our university. We have very, very fancy simulations, for example, at physics, nanophysics, and stuff like that. But this is very, very special and very expensive. So this is mostly only used in one lecture from one professor. So I can give you an overview of that, but I'll keep to the main scenarios we're using at our university. And we're using Blackboard. That's right, what our colleague already said. And then I added, for the fifth point, e-learning in transition phases. That's how I called it, because we are here today to discuss models from transferring from school to higher education. So I picked two examples, two e-learning examples from our university dealing with that topic as well. So let's get started. Freie Universitat Berlin. We were founded, we're just a little older than your university. We were founded in 1948, right after the Second World War. And our university is situated in the south of Berlin, which was, as you know, the city was divided in 4 sections. And this section was the US-American Allied section. And at the time of when this university was founded, there were many, many protests going on in the Soviet sector, because Humboldt Universitat, which is situated in the former Soviet sector, there the professors complained that they were not able to do free research and free teaching. And as a reaction to that, Freie Universitat, Freie, which means free, university was founded then with support from the United States. We are one of just a couple of what's called excellence universities, because our government started a very, very large external funding program a couple of years ago for universities that do excellent teaching and excellent research, and they gave us a lot of money. So we are very, very happy for that. Just to give you an overview where we are located, so this is the whole city. This is the whole city of Berlin. A couple of universities. Well, this is Humboldt Universitat, the technical university, which is only dedicated to technical topics. University of Arts. University Potsdam. Charité, that's our medical school, which is part of Humboldt Universitat and part of Freie Universitat as well. And well, we are situated here, like in the south of Berlin. Okay. And this is just to give you a sight of how our campus looks like. It's a very, very decentralized campus. We have a lot of locations in the south, and they are not all stick together. So when you're, for example, studying biology, you may have like a dozen different institutes to go to, and there are distances that maybe when you take a bus, it'll take 1 hour to just cover this distance. So having this in mind, well, e-learning is a very, very good factor to overcome such distances within a campus as well. We have very interesting neighbors in Dahlem in the south. For example, you might know some of these institutions. There, Max-Zuse-Zentrum, for example, that's a mathematical research institute. Then we have Max Planck for molecular genetics, for example, and they're all located like in the south, and they're all very nice neighbors down there. So coming a bit closer to Freie Universität. We have around about 30,000 students. Freie Universität is a state university. It's the second largest in Berlin. Well, Humboldt Universität and our university, we are like always a little bit of struggling who's the larger university, but about that we are, if not on the first place, we are on the second level with around about 30,000 students. The interesting factor on this slide, in my opinion, is that we have 16% international students. And these are regular students. So these are not only exchange students coming for a semester, but we have 16% of regular international students, a number that is rising. And that's quite a high number for, in comparison to the other state universities in Germany. So this is a quite good figure. We have a large number of very, very good Bulgarian students with excellent knowledge in German. And I do have, in my institute, I always have like at least 5 Bulgarian colleagues, and I love them, they're fantastic. Coming to the professors, we have about 350 professors at our university, and 4,500 staff on top of that, including, well, that's administration staff as well as teaching staff. So that's quite a large number. Let's just have a short look at our departments. We have in all 11 academic departments. We are focused on humanities. We do have natural sciences, large natural sciences, and our computer sciences are very, very popular. And we have all disciplines. We're what's called in Germany Volluniversität, a full university covering all disciplines. Well, apart from medicine belonged to Freie Universität, still belonged to Freie Universität 15 years ago when I started to work at the university. Now it was, of course, due to a cost and financial thing, it was combined with Humboldt Universität, and it's called now Charité University Medicine, and we have 2 locations. One is just around the corner at our university, and the other location is more in the middle of Berlin, round at Humboldt University. But still, we are in very, very close relationship with Charité when it comes to using Blackboard, but I'm going to tell you more about that later on. What's another interesting number? Yes, the external funding, I think. These numbers are quite high because, well, university funding and financing in Germany is very, very complicated. It's, on the one hand, it's part of the state. On the other hand, it's part of the Bundesland, well, which is sort of a district, and then it has to do with the local financing as well. So we are always very, very happy to get funding from external funding possibilities. Well, just back to the university campus, I would just like to give you a short overview of some buildings we have at Freie Universität. This is very, very new. This is our philological library, and which we are very, very proud of that, because it was built by Sir Norman Foster, who also constructed the dome of Reichstag in Berlin. So that's very, very nice. Well, what this picture does not show is that this wonderful library is situated in a very, well, I wouldn't say ugly, but it's, well, it's quite kind of disturbing, because the building around that library is a really 60s, 70s year style, brown, dark building. But you can't see that on that picture. But I'm telling you, when you're coming to visit us, you'll see. We have a lot of green spaces, and that's because we are very, very lucky to have that around, because Dahlem, the district where our university is situated, that's really like it's not outer space, but it's not to be compared with the middle, the center of Berlin. So it's mainly a district where people live. So there's no industry, there's no offices around, and most of the institutes of our university are situated in small little villas, and this is very, very cozy having as an environment. Yeah, tradition and modern, this fits quite well. The building on the left-hand side, that's the Hahn-Meitner building of biochemistry, very old building, and very, very historical. And on the left and on the right-hand side, which you can see, that's the Henry Ford building, which was built right after the foundation of Freie Universitat, of course, supported by Henry Ford. This is quite modern. I like it very much. The institute I'm sitting in is just behind that nice building. This is our Botanical Garden, which is also around the corner at our university. This is the building you can see there. That's very, very newly renovated, and it's wonderful there. It's like going on vacation. You go into that large building, and you feel like you're at the ocean. Wonderful. It's a tropical climate, wonderful flowers. So our former director of finance and administration at university, he used to say, don't go on vacation, just go to the Botanical Garden. So you save the university a lot of money. So, but it's really worth it. It's very, very nice. This is the slogan of our university, and I would like to quote John F. Kennedy, who visited our university in the beginning of the 60s. Freie Universität has a special obligation to think and to help forge the future in terms of truth and justice and liberty. I'm very happy that John F. Kennedy said that such a long time ago, because help to forge the future. This is a very, very good starting point for e-learning, helping to forge the future. And we're seeing on this picture a little, that lady looking into her notebook, and I assume she's like, for example, watching into her Blackboard calendar or something like that. So this is the transition for, well, getting to our institute, the Center for Digital Systems. At Freie Universität, we have 4 departments that are responsible for IT in the broadest sense. So that's the university library, that's the central data systems. Then we have a department which is mainly focusing on SAP, which has to do with human resources and that making sure that everybody is getting the right money on the right time and stuff like that. And then that's us, the Center for Digital Systems, and we're offering services for the whole university in e-research, e-learning, and for the administration. So this is where we are located. Well, this building here down, this is Henry Ford Bau, so we're just behind that. And then you have a little picture which was taken like 2 years ago. Unfortunately, all the wonderful trees are cut off now. And I think when you were there the last time, they were renovating the whole villa. So I didn't like to bring a new picture because it looked so ugly, because it has there was no color on it, and it looked really like, well, torn down. So this is where I do have my office, a little room under the roof. Very, very nice, very romantic, very hot in the summer, but I like to be there. So we're coming to the focus topics of our center. Well, as I already said, learning, research, and we have internally we have like sort of an department focused on multimedia. When it comes to e-learning, we're offering all the services on like presenting learning materials. We're giving the support for conception of e-learning courses, blended learning courses. We're focusing on e-learning and Web 2.0. We have a large audio-video department as well. And the most important point, that's what you can see on the left-hand side, really on the bottom, continuing training and support for teaching staff and lecturers. We saw that without like giving teaching staff a hand, telling them how to do things, it can be very difficult for them. So this is one of our main focuses, main areas. We're helping the teaching staff, the professors, the lecturers to do their e-learning. On e-research, I'm not going to focus so much on that, but we have a couple of e-research and digital humanities projects. For example, when it comes to digital repositories or virtual research environments, we are mainly focusing on repositories for in the Institute of History, because we are collecting and we are also doing a lot of video with victims of the Second World War. Some of these people are still alive, so we're trying to gather these experiences by interviews and offering these interviews for teaching and learning, especially for learning in schools. And we have a lot of school cooperations in these projects in Berlin. For multimedia, we have this little department inside CEDIS, and they are dealing, for example, with all design questions. They have developed the corporate design and identity for Freie Universitat Berlin. And they are also focusing on making like animations, learning animations for problem-based learning when it comes to, for example, when you have a very, very theoretical approach to, for example, a mathematical problem, and then lecturers can come to us and speak to my colleagues at the Multimedia Center, and they help to develop, for example, simulations or animations, making it easier for the student to understand such very theoretical things together in learning. And this is also interesting. Our budget, the budget of our institute is, well, it's nearly a half is not coming from the university itself, but is coming from external funding, especially the BMBF, which is the Federal Ministry for Education and Science. They offer funding processes and funding opportunities in a large number, especially for multimedia in learning. And we're very happy because we are always in that track. We have always been in that track for quite a long time. So what you can see on this little slide showing the statistics, that really our third-party funding grew. And that's only the third-party funding for our institute. That's not the third-party funding for the whole university, that's just for our center. This is a little list of all our partners, mainly the financing partners, but also the partners for distributing e-learning materials. Blackboard is not on that, but I'm going to talk a lot of Blackboard later then. And here you can see this one is the ministry, the federal ministry I was just talking about, and I would like to pick out one program and project. They are funding now for 4 years, and we just received another 4 years in this program, so we are very, very happy on that. This is a program called the Quality Pact for Teaching, which has, in our university, has 3 columns. Number 1, the mentoring for students, to help students to get through university everyday life, to cope with all the problems of academic life, for example, and being able to focus on the topics, the departments, the examinations and stuff like that. Then the second one is learning environments online. This is the project that we in our center are dealing with. This one is focusing on improving the quality of teaching by using e-learning and e-teaching materials. Very interesting project. And number 3 is, the third column is teaching qualifications for, especially for new instructors and new professors. So this Leon project, that's one that we are really, really proud of. And we have seen in the first 4 years of financial support, we have seen very, very good positive effects on teaching in our university already, which we would not have if we hadn't become this wonderful financing support from the BMBF. So I'm getting a little bit closer to certain e-learning scenarios at our university. First of that, I'm giving you just an impression of the development of e-learning in our university, having in mind that we are a large state university, which I sometimes compare being like a super tank. Really, really hard to move sometimes. So we started with e-learning, like web-based trainings that you all might know, already in the mid-90s. And very important, our center was founded in 2002. So there was no e-learning center before that. And we think that this is quite early, having an institutionalized center like that. And we were, well, at least in Berlin, and compared with a lot of other German universities, we were the first to have an institutionalized e-learning approach like that. In 2004, we decided to start using Blackboard as the central learning management system in our university. And we are providing, we as a center, we are providing all the support. We are doing the application management for Blackboard, and we're giving training and possibilities for all the teaching staff in our university. Another point that was very important when looking at the e-learning development was that in 2003, our president and the director of administration and finance, in cooperation with our center, we set up an internal e-learning funding program. So the university decided itself to give money to little institutions, to little initiatives who intended to do more e-learning in their teaching and in their departments. And that was a wonderful idea. It's not that we are giving these institutions like €1 million or something, but maybe sometimes 5,000 euros, maybe 1,000 euro is enough to just give the trigger to start something in e-learning, and that really, really, really helped. We have so many wonderful e-learning projects, and most of them are not sophisticated. Most of them are really realistic. They just like started something, and then after 1 or 2 years we saw a wonderful increase of e-learning initiatives, well, really in all our departments. That was a very good idea. So if you have the possibility to convince someone at your university to give some money, well, not a lot, but just some money to e-learning initiatives, we found that was a very, very good idea. Then we had the first large externally funded e-learning program that was called Fuel. This is FU e-learning, and in 2005, which gave us the possibility to spread out all our initiatives really to the whole of the university. 2009, we introduced central blog and wiki systems, which is according to the introduction of Blackboard as a learning management system, and then we introduced as well blog and wiki systems for teaching and learning. 2012, we started working with Blackboard Mobile. Students love that. They really do. And it makes organization of their everyday academic life so much easier. When you come in with the underground, when in the morning to university, everyone's looking at the course calendar in Blackboard, and this is really, really used to a large extent. In 2013, we opened our own e-examination center. I'm going to show you some pictures on that. And then the Leon project, very, very important for us when it comes especially to, to have positive effects on, mainly the quality of teaching and learning. And in 2014, we started a new initiative called Massive Online Courses, you see that there's an O missing. The MOOC initiative you might have heard of, massive open online courses, which went through the press up and down from US universities. And we decided, well, open is not a scenario that could be used for a traditional state university, so we decided to put it like massive online courses, setting the massive for large numbers of students attending certain classroom sessions, and we have lectures with 600 to 800 students. Just here I put together the milestones again. Well, Blackboard we started in 2003. Very important is also our e-examination initiative we started for the university, which led finally to the construction of an e-examination, well, a large room with desktop PCs for conducting examinations there. And then the MOOCs initiative as well. Giving you a little overview of the infrastructure we are using, well, of course, Blackboard. We have nearly all, well, of the students are using Blackboard. You will always have a couple of learners and a couple of teachers who are, well, let's say, resistant to using technology, but you will always have that. We have all the courses, the course number, we have an automatic course creation every semester from the electronic course catalog, so that the teaching staff logs into Blackboard and finds his course right from the beginning. And this is very good for the start, because when you have to explain the teacher, okay, this is Blackboard and this is how you create a course, you lost them already. So this is very, very luxurious to tell all the teachers, well, your course is already there. More than half of the teachers are using these courses, well, more or less actively. But as we know, using Blackboard has a whole range of possibilities. You can use it just to, like a library, you can put your PDF files there, or you can use it as a communication tool, as a really, really strong classroom session tool. The blog system, for the blog system we're using WordPress. The wiki system is Confluence, and I'm quite sure that you're familiar with these systems. We have also a large audio-video section, and thanks to the colleagues that are tracking and making the filming today, I know how much work that is, and we have a large team doing lecture recordings of all sorts of special events, of conferences in our university. We are working towards an automatic lecture recording in our classrooms, which of course requires a lot of hardware setting, and this is expensive, and it takes so much time. And when we're talking about the expensiveness of this equipment, then after half a year, you should be thinking of a new equipment, because the modernization of this technical equipment goes so fast, and so it just takes some time to do that, but we are really looking forward to that. We're using web conferences by Adobe Connect. You might also know Adobe Connect, which has also a connection to Blackboard. You can use Adobe Connect within Blackboard, which is a great help for virtual classroom settings. And then the e-examination center with 150 computer working places. That was quite difficult to establish, because you have to prevent students from cheating. And you have to prevent that technically, and that was quite a challenge to realize. Well, here just one slide concerning the Blackboard routine we are using. And following a blended learning approach, there's so many possibilities to use Blackboard. I'm not going into details there, because at your university, you definitely know what's possible there. Interesting to know is that we are offering our Blackboard installation as that for other institutions, for example, for the Charité and for Evangelische Hochschule, which is the Protestant University in Berlin. And as I saw on the partners list of your university, you have also a cooperation with that university. So I'm happy to point out that here. This is our e-examination center we built. Well, on that picture, you, of course, wouldn't say that this is an examination center. You're right. This is a former chemistry laboratory that wasn't used any longer. That was quite outdated. I think it must have been from the 70s. And we tore everything out and we reconstructed it, and today it looks like this. That was hard work. That took more than a year, but we're very, very happy to have that, and more lecturers and professors are using it to conduct their examinations. And as you know from the Bologna process, the number of examinations in the disciplines rose. They really, really got up high. So an automation of examinations is, well, for the lecturers, a very, very good idea. And I only think of, well, making the correction for about 100 essays, and everybody wrote by hand. And then you can hardly read the handwriting of all these 100 students. That is so much work, and it makes it so much easier to conduct it in that e-examination center. Just from that point of view, there are loads and loads of more positive effects on that. And as you can see, after the introduction of this e-examination center, the number of single tests and participants rose. And well, just on the beginning this week, we started thinking of, well, maybe we need another e-examination center. But, well, as you can imagine what our director of administration and finance told us. It was very, very, very expensive to build that room. I put in all the links to all our initiatives, and I guess the presentation will be distributed afterwards, so you can just have a closer look at all I'm telling you there. And here, just real quick, the overview of all our services. The consulting and training, as I said in the beginning, that is very, very important. Giving lecturers, professors, and teaching staff the possibility to go somewhere, knock at the door, and let them ask. We have, for example, we have a hotline every day. Well, not on weekends, but from Monday through Friday, and the professors, they can call and ask, well, I can't remember how that was with creating a Blackboard course or putting up a PDF on Blackboard. How does that work? And we have a number of student assistants working at that hotline, and that really works very, very well. And this hotline is valid for all the e-learning systems that we are offering, so for Blackboard, for the wiki system, the blog system as well. Audio, video, design, and stuff like that, everything. The lecturers, they love that, because they really, we have to think that our professors, well, are more the age like 60 and upwards. So this is, sometimes it's difficult for these professors to get adapted to learn new learning initiatives, so they're really, really happy to pick up the phone and ask someone. The eLearning Grants Program, this is the internal program, and we have a large number of projects funded, smaller projects and larger projects, and this is a really, really great help and gives large incentives to professors and teaching staff that are really, really active in that field. Well, for the technical support, that's the hotline. And this is the e-learning starter kit. That's really new. We introduced it just a year ago or something. This is for newly appointed professors. Before these newly appointed professors arrive at our university, we write them an email and tell them, okay, we're here to help you. And this is connected to a certain amount of money. I think it's 3,000 euros. But the professor is not allowed to spend that money, well, going on a trip to Bali or something. But the professor is supposed to invest that money into e-learning approaches and initiatives. So this is very, very good. That works really, really well. And all the newly appointed professors, young, dynamic, active professors, we all do meet them. And we all do tell them how to work on the quality management of their lectures, how to use multimedia in their academic life. That was a very, very good idea. And that's internally funded as well. So, to some examples. We collected, this is a wiki page in our central wiki system that you can also have a look at. This is, we just set up a year ago or something, and this combines a raising number of e-learning scenarios from different disciplines. And the teaching staff, they describe the multimedia they use, their pedagogical approach and stuff like that. And this gives a very, very nice overview of the scenarios in use in our university, because there's so many different ways and it's so individual. And you can have a closer look there. I'm afraid like 80% of these scenarios are described in German, but as I already realized, there's so many nice colleagues here speaking so much German, so you may ask them as well, I think. So the blended learning approach using our central learning management system, we have this automated course creation that I already told you about, which makes it so much easier for teaching staff to get started. We have an automated enrollment. So every student enrolled in our university is automatically enrolled in Blackboard as well. So there's no further steps necessary. And that wasn't like that at the beginning when we started with Blackboard. That was from the central Freie Universitat identity management, bringing all that data to Blackboard. That required, well, that wasn't this easy. That required software development and, well, technical discussions with Blackboard, and that wasn't this easy, but finally we managed. And this really, really helps a lot. So when a student is nominated for studies at our university, the person gets his or her own FU identity, and with this identity you can log on for the internet, Blackboard, the wikis, the blogs, everything. So right from the first day on, this makes it so easy for everybody just to get started. Then when it comes to the blended learning scenarios, we, for putting up learning materials in Blackboard, that's clear, that's done by nearly every professor. The online communication is more and more used, but not in every course. And that's something we do regret. We think that Blackboard and the communication tools we have there, especially in connection with Adobe Connect, are perfect for students' communication with the professor or the teaching staff. A lot of lecturers are reluctant to use it, we have to say. We have to the problem is that we try to convince the professors, but well, not all of them are happy to use these tools. Well, we have to work on that. Online collaboration between students works quite well, because setting up student groups for example, doing homeworks or working on a scientific approach or something like that, this really works very, very well. Mostly it starts off as a Blackboard group at the beginning of a semester, so the students meet virtually in Blackboard and start, well, their cooperation and communication. And at the end of the semester, they of course more and more met physically from face to face, and they built then a flesh and blood learning group. And I think that's a very, very nice development. A very nice and handy scenario using Blackboard is preparing a classroom session beforehand. That's what we call the inverted classroom model. So setting the learning and the readings and stuff like that for the study work at home. This is mainly used for, it's well, very common scenario, for example, in mathematics or in physics, giving students a lot, well, sort of homework. Please try to work on these mathematical things at home. I'm very bad in mathematics. I can't give you any example, I'm sorry. But when coming to class, And then the professor is there. Then we are really working on like for example, the examination tests and stuff like that. So that's, well, learning languages, we call that Vorentlastung. Can someone translate that? I can't. Vorentlastung? It's like putting the workload before the classroom in time. So Vorentlastung, okay. And Blackboard is quite commonly used to prepare especially language classes. That's a quite common scenario to use. So it's like, please learn the vocabulary at home, have a look at the grammar, and we're going to talk when the professor is there. We're going to talk in the classroom session. So that's in language learning, that's very common. Now we come into the massive online courses I just talked about beforehand. We started that with one lecture with a colleague who is working in the Department of Educational Science, and he has every winter semester a lecture with 650 students, and that lecture was always on Thursday at 8 o'clock in the morning. And you can imagine how many students showed up. Not much. So, but still, the students, of course, they had to learn all that, everything that was connected to the lecture. And as this professor, as a educational science professor, very interested in multimedia, he started to work together with CEDIS, because he said, well, what can I do to attract more students to my lecture? And he's a devoted lecturer. He's not boring or anything. He's a really devoted lecturer. And we said, okay, we will be with you for one winter semester, and we are going to film every Thursday at 8 o'clock. We're going to make a video of the lecture. Then we're putting that lecture online in Blackboard. We connect that with online sessions, discussions, exercises, and stuff like that. And then the professor only shows up, not during the whole semester, but only 3 times instead of 14 times. At the first lecture, somewhere in the middle, to, well, ask, do you understand everything? Is everything clear? And then at the last lecture of the semester, right before the examination. And we're doing this for the 4th semester now, and we're having wonderful evaluation results from the student. They say the self-guided and self-directed learning, they love it. Of course, some of them get lost because they need to be in contact with the professor, like really in flesh and blood. But for most of them, it's very, very good. It's working quite fine. And I said there, it's very good for the concept of family-friendly university. That's translated word by word, familienfreundliche Hochschule, which means that we have to keep in mind that our students are no longer like 18 years old and they just came from school, but we have a lot of adults and people who already have families, who re-enter studies, and that's why we call that family-friendly university. So that makes it much easier for a more flexible learning scenario to, well, then when you have a little child at home, you might not be able to come every day to university. So this is what we call family-friendly. And within that concept, that massive online course scenario fitted quite well. So we set up that like a digital lecture, and these are the people that were taking part, and especially we had a student group who were continually taking part in that evaluation process when we set up that lecture, and that really worked very, very well. And that's how it looks like in Blackboard. We had to do a quite larger number of software adjustments within Blackboard. We had to put in a player that worked well, and but we did it, and well, students are happy. Just giving you a small number of examples. I'm running out of time. 5 minutes. For small disciplines, for example, we have here from a Greek professor. This is a lecture that he does in Adobe Connect, because some of his colleagues and students are not located in Berlin, but somewhere in Greece. So this is when you have small disciplines with a low number of students, that works quite well. For an online collaboration, we mainly offer the wikis for that. Here just two examples, one from the law department and the other one is veterinary medicine. And oh, no, this is from the law department and from earth sciences. This is the earth sciences wiki that you can have a look at that one. That's very interesting because the professor, he collects sand examples from all over the world. I didn't know that sand always looks so different. That's very, for geologists, that must be very interesting. These are two examples from presenting learning materials. These were realized by within our content management system, which we are distributing for the whole university as well. That one on the right-hand side, this is from veterinary medicine. That's a large collection of animals' diseases. And I was happy to find these nice pictures, these bird pictures, because all the other pictures are very disgusting, you know, from really diseases. But this is a really large collection, and professors, students from ongoing seminars are working on that. So it's getting bigger and bigger and can be used for research as well. 3 examples from expanding in the learning space, really looking at it from, well, where the teachers and where the students are. The first one was realized within an international master, Childhood Studies and Children's Rights, with online broadcasting. The second one is the multi-site seminars scenario within a master which is called Intellectual Encounters of the Islamic World, which is completely realized within Adobe Connect because the students and the professors never meet. They come from at least 4 different countries. They never meet. Well, they do meet, I think, and there's a first meeting in the beginning of the semester, but the whole lecturing is done online. There are loads and loads of more examples. Just these 2 little examples from the transition phases I was talking of. The online studies selection guide helps students to decide what to study. Because we're having a lot of students who are, well, they're, as we talked about that yesterday, we have school children who finish school with 17 years old, and they are supposed to know what to study at the age of 17. That's quite early, we think. So we set up this online studies selection guide to help students to find a good, well, department or their study field of interest. And here I have an example from neuroscience, cognitive and affective neurosciences. And we have an international student who saw that, and he twittered that it was so nice. Want to make a student fall in love with a cognitive neuroscience master, build a page like this, and he linked to our page. We were very happy about that. And he started studying within this master, and he likes it. And another project, which is one of the projects I'm working on, because my focus is internationalization as well. This is Distributed Campus, which is an online portal preparing preliminary, especially international students coming to our university. And this is, we are working with that portal for 12 years now, and we're preparing especially students who are coming only to our university for 1 or 2 semesters. So they especially from the academic point of view and the intercultural point of view, they really have to adapt fast. They have to write examinations. They have to bring back home their ECTFs and stuff like that. So we try to smoothen this transition to our university as the guest university. That's just shortly how that looks like. The students from all over the world, they prepare online for everything that's happening in our university then when they arrive. just some student voices on that. Students love that because it helps them to adapt, especially interculturally, to everyday life in our university. This is the last slide. Some e-learning prospects. I'm not going into detail to that. What I think is a crucial question is the last point on this slide, because that's something we always realize as quite a problem. When we see actual trends evolving, technical trends evolving, how is the university coping with that? Because we always have the feeling that we are running after all these trends and we can hardly catch up with them. Do we have to catch up with them? Do we have to firstly think of us as university, as the e-learning provider? Do we have to use like Facebook for teaching? Should we do that? These are the questions. So thank you very much for your attention.